Happy New Year.
2015.
Welcome to Real Estate on Sunday.
I'm Jim Lowenstern.
I'm Diana Doherty. If you'd like to call us, you can call us at 1-800-967-3561.
Call us anytime. We're on the air.
All the time.
Yeah, 24/7.
Or you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and leave your questions there too.
All the questions that you have about real estate, we are the experts.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And we have lots of questions. From our mailbag, because we've been off the air for a few weeks
Yes.
for the holidays. We got all these emails.
Great.
So, you want to start? Yeah, I'm gonna let you start.
Well, I have a
That way.
buyer question actually that I was working with this week that wanted to know, when do they talk to a mortgage broker?
How soon?
How soon? They want to go out and look at houses
Today.
first.
Today. Know your FICO, know your credit limits, know what you have to put down.
What you can afford. Even before you go look at houses, you should be talking to a mortgage broker.
Right.
Even before you go online to look at the houses.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Know the market, but know what you can afford in the market so you don't waste your time, you don't waste the realtor's time.
Not being able to put an offer in.
Yeah, that's and for brokers out there, I'm assuming you all know this, but don't work with anyone who hasn't already
Got a pre-approval.
figured this out, because you'll be showing them houses, and when they find something, they won't have any information to go with the offer, and then unfortunately, sometimes you find out they can't afford the house that you show them.
Correct, after showing several houses.
Right. So,
So what do you have?
Ben Taylor in Laguna Beach, California. He's talking about, okay, this is what Ben says. I want to buy a house in a busy market with overbidding being the norm rather than the exception. What advice can you give me to either avoid overpaying for a house? I don't think he wrote very well. And also, do you have any advice as how to make an offer exceptional so that the seller will accept it without haggling? It's a two-parter.
Yeah, well, if it's overbidding, that's a tough one, because if the norm is overbidding, then there could still be haggling from the seller even if you give asking price.
Right.
It depends on how many offers there are.
Be quick. Be fast.
Be ready.
In our market, and I kick myself for actually trusting the broker when they wrote, no showings until, it came on the market last week. They were going to start showing it at the open house the following week.
Okay,
It was under agreement in 2 days.
before the open house,
Yeah.
even though they said no showings. Huh.
So don't wait. Know the market, have your fingers on the pulse, and be quick, and be ready to write a lot of offers, I guess.
And be prepared not to
get
it.
everyone. Yeah, not to get any. Patience, right?
Yeah, don't fall in love with a house until you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and how to make the offer more attractive. Well, if you can eliminate the mortgage contingency,
That's always good.
That's a start. If you can get your handyman or contractor to go into the house so it's sort of inspected already, maybe eliminate the inspection contingency.
It would be more attractive to the seller.
If you can eliminate all the contingencies and just say, I'm closing in 5 weeks or whatever it
Yeah.
is, take a little risk. Maybe that's how you do it.
Yeah, less financing too. The less financing, the better.
What do you think about writing letters, like love letters? Dear Mr. and Mrs.
I actually had a buyer do that because they requested to do it. And
Did it work?
They ended up getting the house,
Okay.
and there were several offers.
Okay.
They did make an attractive offer to go with the note. I don't think that sellers tend to care.
Did you help them with the note, or?
I did review it. I said, if you want to write this letter, you need to write the letter, and I'll review it to make sure that it is to the point and makes sense. And It was a very short and sweet note, just my family, where I could see us living here for years to come, raising the kids, that kind of stuff, and it was a...
So would you recommend the letter?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, all right, so...
Yeah, I mean, it might help, it might not.
So Ben, try the letter.
Try the letter, too.
Do you have another question?
How do you divide a multifamily into condominiums?
Well, I think that's pretty much just a rewrite of the deed in most places.
And you need the documents
I
to...
think you need to know about local ordinances and, I mean, in Newton, Massachusetts and surrounding areas, if it's a multi-unit building, it's just a rewriting of the deed.
And then you have the rules and regulations with the condo association.
Well, you have to create condo
documents.
Yeah. Architectural drawings, condo documents, all to be registered along with the deed. And the easiest way to find out if you're doing it right is to get a buyer who needs financing, because the bank will tell you what you
to do. And then I had a situation where it was a multifamily. It was had just been condoed out to 3 units. And in order for the buyer to get the financing, it needed to be above, I forget what the percentage was, around, I think it was 70% or 60%
sold,
owner occupied at the closing. So
if it's 70% and it's 3 units, then you have to have all 3 close at the same time.
Correct, and that's what we had to do. We had to close all 3 of them at the same time and coordinate it.
Always
so
good.
That's something to keep in mind.
Always good to get 3 cash buyers, and then you don't have that problem. Okay, speaking of Boston, Jay Raffin writes, I want to begin flipping real estate. That's good, Jay. We need more flippers, not enough. And I want to know everything that I should know before I begin to look.
Okay.
Everything. Wow. Who doesn't want to know everything? Let's start. What should you know?
Well, you have to find a good property to flip. That's the toughest part of it.
Focus on a particular kind of property to flip? Well, that's a good part of possibly the answer is like what has the most potential of making money?
Gain.
Yeah.
A single family, a multifamily, condo.
Well, it's not going to.
Land.
Well, I guess anything if you buy it right.
Yeah.
So I guess you just have to be open-minded and look at a lot of properties and cast a wide net. So don't be a flea in a cup, so to speak. Geographically, look for opportunities.
And then I had a situation where you couldn't close after 6 months. You needed at least 6 months before we could close. A property was purchased, renovated.
Right.
And then the buyer was getting financing, and it couldn't close.
He couldn't resell it.
He couldn't resell it for 6 months.
For 6 months. Wow. Yeah. So as far as flipping, it takes nerves of steel, let's put it that way. Because if you're selling something very quickly, my suggestion would be find something that needs paint. Paint and bushes. Because that's very inexpensive materials.
Okay.
Well, the bushes could be expensive depending what you put in. But, if you can just paint something up, maybe put in some new appliances, a new counter in the kitchen or something like that, that's probably the best way to start. And don't go for the $1 million properties. Start more at the lower end.
Smaller.
Yeah. Okay, got another one. Petra, it's either Moyer or Moir, M-O-I-R, in Austin, Texas. Hi, Petra. Thanks for writing. I want to expand my house to make it 100% larger than it currently is. Would I be better off by demolishing it and starting from scratch, or expanding on the current foundation and frame? How does an owner decide what to do with regard to that question? Wants to double the size of her house.
So, well, you could probably keep some of the frame. It's a single family, I'm assuming?
It's what it sounds like. And I'm going to guess probably a slab in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So imagine maybe a 1,200 square foot house, and she wants a 2,400 square foot house. Just, we don't have any more information on
Yeah,
that.
you could probably keep some of the original framework, and I'm not a contractor. What do you think?
I would say it has to do with how good your architect is.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times, it's gonna look wrong when it's done, and you made a big investment into something that you'll probably not get your money out of because it doesn't look right. Does that make sense?
so do you think that you should demolish the whole thing, or just the architect would be able to come in and,
I guess you really need to have a realtor's opinion as to, almost like have your architect give you a plan for a new house, and
I
that's
see.
probably pretty easy for them to come up with, and then just do a rough sketch. Don't pay for too many hours of their time, but a rough sketch of what it's gonna look like, elevation, curb appeal, and have a realtor or two realtors take a look and give you an opinion which way you should go. And also get the cost difference from the contractor. It costs money to demolish the house, but the real money is not the demolishing the house and the new materials. It's retrofitting what's there now. Because chances are you're gonna have to take the roof off and you're gonna have to remove walls. If the house is small enough, by the time you're done, you're gonna go, there's nothing left of the
Anyway.
original house. It's just a few sticks of wood that you saved, and
Sure.
you're probably replacing windows anyway. So, that all being said, Petra, just tear it down. You just start fresh. I think that's the best idea
yeah.
in most cases.
All right, so I have a person here that just has gone through a divorce. Their ex ruined their credit, and they have to pay off everything. Can I still buy a house?
Why does this person have to pay off everything? Do we know?
This is all the information I have.
They have to pay off everything. Maybe,
Maybe I'm just kind of guessing that the ex, they had combined credit debt.
okay, so it was in like joint names?
And it was in
and
joint
everything.
names.
And so, what was the question?
Can I buy a house still?
Can they buy a house? If they have good income and their FICO score, does it say the FICO
No.
was destroyed?
It just says the ex ruined
Oh, ruined.
their credit.
Ruined, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
That's.
So I'm assuming it's not good.
That's common with exes, that's what they do. I would say, can you buy a house? No. That's the short
Unless you have
answer.
cash.
The long answer is find a seller who's willing to finance you.
Seller
perhaps.
financing.
Find an ugly duckling out there, something that's been sitting on the market for a while. Maybe it's overpriced, maybe needs a lot of work. Maybe you have a distressed situation. Maybe they can't afford the payments anymore and just want out. Maybe there you can just step in and take their payments over, sort of like an assumable mortgage sort of situation.
Yeah, and I mean, it may be that they have a house that they can sell that has possible equity in it where they can downsize.
Yeah, it just sounds like they want to
Yeah.
know whether or not
If the
they
ex,
can get financing
Get
with
financing.
bad credit. And the answer is probably not.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, things have loosened up a little bit in the last year or so, but I would still think you need
Credit.
600 or better to get a mortgage. 4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't get a mortgage if you were under 700. Now, I'd say probably should be maybe 550. Anything lower than that, forget about it.
Yeah.
So, let's see, another email, Lynn Crichton from Stowe, Vermont. I have a building lot that is on a hillside that slopes down. I was wondering if you would recommend that I build down the slope and put minimum money into the site work, or would it be better to engineer the lot to create a level lot in the front and a level lot in the back? I am getting estimates of over $100,000 for the site work, and I don't know which direction to go in.
That's $100,000 to level it? I'm assuming.
$100, yeah, 100,000 is probably terraces and backfill and who knows what else, could be drainage. Probably need more answers, well, we'll say this, Lynn, how expensive are the houses in your neighborhood? And how big a house do you want to build? You know, those are the answers we need before we can answer the question. Generally speaking, you'd want a level lot in the front and a level lot in the rear. So it's probably not a bad idea if you have the money.
Yeah.
And it also depends, are you building this for spec, you know, to sell it, or are you building it to live in it? Because if you got the money and can afford it, build the house of your dreams, you know? I mean, Stowe, Vermont's a nice place.
Yeah.
They got expensive houses in Stowe, Vermont. I would say put the money in.
Level it.
Yeah, do it right. Having a driveway in Vermont that slopes down,
And the snow.
that doesn't sound good.
No.
You'd-
Even
you'd-
walking up to get, I mean, there would have to be stairs, there'd probably be a lot of stairs to get into the house, or,
You'd have a little ice or a little
Yeah.
snow, and you'll slide all the way down the driveway and drive into your house or something. Yeah, level it, for sure.
yeah.
Do you have any more?
No.
You're fresh
I'm
out?
fresh out.
Okay, well, we only have one more. Let's see. All right, John Flynn from Glen Cove, New York asks, I have decided to put my house on the market, and since I have sold properties in the past that I owned, I have decided to market this one myself.
Oh,
If you were trying to get my listing, what benefits would you be offering me to convince me that you can net me more money? Wow, that's
John Flynn.
that's all yours. If you want,
Well, what's the value of having a real
we
estate
could
agent?
role play.
versus-
I'm John.
Okay, John Flynn.
So tell me, Diane.
Well, that's
What-
probably how
why-
a for sale by owner would be.
That's right. That's the body language. So
You know, what are you
so-
gonna do?
Yeah. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I could market your property and expose it and communicate, network with other agents and get qualified buyers. Also help getting once you have a buyer and an offer, it's not just about the price. I think a lot of times sellers are so fixated on the price, they don't understand they get all, I guess, excited about the price. They don't think about the whole offer. And that's what an agent is good to have, to be able to review the offer, make sure you have a qualified buyer. Just because someone has a pre-approval doesn't mean that they're 100% qualified or have the best qualifications. So what I can offer is my advice and expertise and experience from that you won't have as an owner, you know? You don't sell your houses every day, and it's not just putting it up on the internet and putting pretty pictures up and showings. There's a lot to it.
Good. I'll give him
What would you do?
Where do I sign? Well, it's an education process, I think. I think Mr. Flynn probably has good experiences, but maybe he doesn't know that it's not just whether he was successful in selling the house in the past or not. Have you ever seen a for sale by owner that, well, they saved the commission, so they saved, you know, maybe it was a co-broke, instead of paying 5%, they paid 2.5%, but they sold the house for maybe 5%
Oh,
less
absolutely.
than they could have. So you say, well, it was only 5%, and, well, 5%, you were only saving 2.5%, you actually lost money. And
I think that they go in thinking that they're, okay, well, I'm saving all this money by not paying the real estate agent, so I'll be willing to take less for the property.
Right.
But then they don't realize that they've lost money. The commission, they could have gotten even more from an agent.
right. And,
Working with an
and-
agent.
And they're also, for sale by owners, I think generally are in a position where they overprice rather than price right, which generally means price aggressively, because they're dealing one-on-one with the buyer. There's no buffer there, no intermediary. Or if they're dealing with a broker who's bringing the buyer, it's a buyer's broker, and they're still at a disadvantage. There's just no buffer.
Yeah, and the buyer's broker is going to have comparables and be able to negotiate.
Well, it could be even like an expression that the seller, if they're face-to-face, communicates to the buyer or the buyer's broker, or a hesitation in their voice. Good negotiators in our business who work for sellers sort of plan out what they're going to say,
Sure.
when they're going to say it, how soon to call back, how soon to answer that phone, when to send a text. I mean, it's sort of like conducting a symphony,
Sure.
you know? And if there's no buffer there, I work with my buyers, and I should say my sellers, and some of them are builders, whatever. We sort of brainstorm a little bit about how to approach the offer.
The strategy.
Yeah, you have to. And I think a seller that's a for sale by owner has, no one to
It's on their
consult
own.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, that would be my answer. But as far as what we can do for them that they can't do themselves, we can't really do anything more. I mean, the marketing, everyone can do marketing now.
Yeah.
It's the knowledge of how to handle the negotiations. And with overbidding and handling the network of brokers with broker open houses and all that.
And negotiating the inspection and issues that come up, a lot of times sellers will take it more personally than an agent will, where an agent can sit back and kind of diffuse the situation and press to negotiate in the best interest of the seller, where the seller might react in a way that does a disservice to them.
Right. So I think the other part of the equation that we haven't talked about is brokers have relationships with other brokers.
Yeah.
These other brokers have buyers. So for a seller who doesn't have relationships with the people that, I'm not saying they control the market, but they certainly...
They're in it.
They make the market.
Sure.
You know, we're as professionals, we know who the players are, so to speak, and the different personalities, and, we have relationships with them. So those relationships translate into showings, and it translates sometimes into higher prices.
And a smooth transaction, and
Because they know, and at least in a good market, there's competition, and there's a little bit of aggressive nature in some of these negotiations, and a good broker can yield more in the end
sure.
for the seller. So for sale by owner, I don't see it for the most part. I think
As a money saver.
you're trying to save a couple of bucks, and I think you're costing yourself a lot. Plus, it's aggravating. Selling a house by yourself, you gotta do work.
Sure.
You gotta be a broker,
Yeah, and there's disclosures and legal.
I mean, I could probably, if I had to operate on myself, read a book and figure out how to do it, but I'd pay a doctor. It's the same sort of thing. That's a silly one. But what about all the people that do their own taxes?
Sure.
Well, I got TurboTax. I can, save money on the accounting fees.
Yeah.
You ever do your own taxes?
No.
I did it
Not
once.
since I've been in real estate.
I had the worst migraine ever. So I would think that selling your own house would sort of be like a bad experience for a lot of people if they didn't know what they were doing and didn't do it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So-
is.
So, John, I hope that answers your question. We do encourage you to send in your questions and to call us if you ever have a real estate question.
At 1-800-967-3561, or you can leave a message on Facebook, Real Estate on Sunday, or follow us on Twitter.
Sounds good. Well, we had a great show today. We're glad you joined us. Going to be back next week. Same time?
Same
place.
I'm Diana Doherty.
I'm Jim Lowenstern. Thanks for joining us.
Know your dreams.
Live your dreams.